Story 1. I remember lifting out of my body and floating midair over my body, which was lying in the dining room floor. I left my body. I was no longer intoxicated. I was completely clear and could see everything at once. I realized that I was almost dead and became very upset and began to cry for Jesus to help me. At this moment, I was aware of a light enveloping me. I was the light, and it was me. There was another being with me. The being let me know that I was going to die, and I must leave this body for good. I remember arguing with the being, explaining that I didn't want to because it was so hard going through the childhood years, and I didn't want to have to go through this again. The being indicated that my body was severely damaged and I couldn't go back. I became very adamant at this point that God was all-powerful and could fix the body. At some point, the decision was made to let me re-enter my body on my faith or will, whatever one may call it. The next phase was like an evaluation. I was taken back through my past, beginning with my birth, and we went over what had already happened. Then I was shown an overview of key points in my life that was to come. One of these key experiences was that I would have a child at a very early age, and it would be a boy. It was explained to me that from this point forward, I would do everything earlier than most, including my older sister. I would marry first, bear children first, and generally have more responsibility than my sisters and other friends and family members. I was told that I would soon leave my church and have a short period of rebellion and drug experimentation, but this would end fairly soon, and I would begin to climb out of it. I was told that I was going to be a writer and that my words would touch many people. I was instructed to write a book on or around the age of 40, and that after I had fulfilled my life plans, I would eventually die before my two sisters. All of a sudden, I opened my eyes and I was in a hospital bed in the intensive care unit. The preacher from my church was there praying for me. I actually thought at this point that I had died when I saw him there with my mother who was crying. I gradually woke up and asked what had happened. My mother said I had been in a coma for 3 days and I had almost died. This story was shared by Nei G and happened in 1973. Story 2. The next thing I remember was I came into this clear white light. As soon as I came into this light, all my fear of drowning was gone and I felt this light envelop me. This clear white light was all around me that I could see. I didn't look behind me, but I know it was behind me too. I felt this total love and acceptance of me, and I felt the same with the light. I knew I was part of this light. I belonged to this light. I was home. I then realized there was a presence in this light, and I realized I was light too. We were the same but with different personalities. I couldn't see anybody for myself or a body in the light. The light then told me, "You are here to learn how to love and to gain knowledge." When I was told this, all the implications of the word love and knowledge were imparted to me. With the word love, it wasn't just about physical love, but the love of nature, accepting all people as the same, everything that pertained to love. The same was with knowledge. It wasn't just about book knowledge, but about learning about different cultures, histories of the world. I felt when I was told this that it wasn't just my reason for being on Earth, but all of our reason for being here, mankind. When I look back over my life, I can see I have been doing exactly what I was told to do in the light that day. My life has been all about learning, and since I have been on the net, I have made many friends all over the world. There was no time there. I don't know if I was only there for seconds, minutes, or what. I knew my body was safe when I came into the light. I knew I was going back to my body. I don't remember leaving the light. I don't remember getting back into my body. That has all been blocked. Since I am here, all I can guess is that I came to a shallow place and was able to get my feet under me and stand up and get out of the river. I had a hell of a time learning how to swim the next year in school. It took me quite some time to float on my stomach with my face in the water. This story was shared by Barbara S. and happened in the summer of 1962. Story 3, I came out of my body. I was instantly up and to the right of my body behind the right shoulder. I was very aware that the body I saw drowning was mine, yet I had no sympathy for it as I watched it drown and struggle for life. I was completely unattached to it. I questioned immediately, how can I be there and here at the same time? I put my hands out in front of me and touched them together. As I felt the touch and recognized that they were my hands, I could not understand how this could be. I took a deep breath and said, Wow, I can breathe underwater. I was distracted by the voices of those at the poolside discussing the fate of my body as it drowned. I could clearly hear their words and was aware of their emotions concerning my drowning body. But I still did not care about it and returned my attention to the fact that it did not hurt at all to die. I was amazed at how much more real and vibrant the colors and light around me were. This is real, and that body there was just a coat I had been wearing. It felt good to be out of it. I felt free from pain, confusion, and all the heaviness of the weight of life on one's shoulders. My entire perspective on life was changing as fast as I could think. As I was basking in the wonder of it all at the same time, the one who pushed me in jumped in to get me. I watched as she pulled the body to the top of the water. As fast as myself came out of the body, it went back in, and I was instantly very angry about it. I could now feel the experience the body had while I was separate from it. It had been terrified and angry, scared and afraid. I had not experienced any of that yet. Now I was being forced to feel the state the flesh felt, even though I wasn't there with it when it happened. I never saw through the body's eyes. I could only feel what it was feeling about what had happened to it. I was also aware that nobody there had seen myself come out of me, and I could not say anything to them about it. It seemed that while in the body, it had priority and control of all my actions while in it. It had a strong survival instinct and was not aware of the fact that it is really okay to die. I then was aware that it doesn't hurt the self to separate, but it hurts the body very badly. The self can experience the body while in it, but the body cannot experience the self. It is completely unaware of its existence. This story was shared by Levette H and happened in 1977. Story 4. A truck behind me veered to the right and hit the back of my moped. The blow knocked me to the ground, hitting my head on the curb. This all happened in a matter of seconds, and I never did see the truck. Suddenly, I found myself in a magnificent place. I was younger, like about 13 to 15 years old. I was dressed in a sleeveless, knee-length white tunic. I remember being barefoot. The feeling was one of immense happiness, endless bliss. I was running in a meadow with very tall grass. The grass was the color of a very intense green, comparable to the expanses of Scotland. Yet the color was much more of an intense green color and phosphorescent. This color doesn't exist here, so it is hard to describe it. The sky was very blue with some white clouds. It was very pleasant scenery. At the bottom of this clearing of grass, there was a huge, majestic oak tree. It moved in the wind and was so beautiful. I knew the tree was a doorway and was running at breakneck speed to reach it. I had no recollection of my earthly life and just wanted to go. Suddenly, a pure, white, shining unicorn appeared in front of me. It was beautiful, and only something like this could stop me. He lowered his head as horses do to be stroked. I caressed it, and the perception was that of a velvet superior to any velvet I have ever touched. It was a tactile sensation that does not exist on Earth. I love animals, and this unicorn was the most beautiful animal I've ever seen. I stopped running and continued to pet him. I was flooded with endless bliss. Then suddenly, I found myself in the body. In the meantime, my husband and brother had arrived at the hospital. I kept repeating, "What a trip, guys, you have no idea who I saw." And then I had a rosary and a picture of Padre Pio in my pocket, to whom I was very devoted. I said, "Padre Pio protected me." For many months I had no memory and no longer recognized anyone. I couldn't match the colors in my clothes, and I no longer knew who I was or what I was doing. But I was seeing many things. I was in an in-between state where I perceived another world and I wasn't perfectly connected to here. It took me a long time to come back to this world. The head wound was very severe. My husband and I then split up. This story was shared by Sarah V and happened in 1995. Story 5. I had gone to a New York City hospital for a routine surgery, but it was a new procedure. I received the shot of Valium in the hall before I was wheeled into the room for the procedure. While under anesthesia, I was watching the two doctors arguing while still in my body. The surgeon said to the anesthesiologist, "You killed her, you gave her too much." I began to float outside of my body. I could see myself on the table and I saw the two doctors next to me. I felt really scared when I realized I was floating on the top of the room. Then I saw a blindingly bright light. I heard a male voice say, "That way." I began pleading with this voice that I refer to as the Gatekeeper. The place was dark, like a grotto. The gatekeeper kept saying, "That way." I did not want to go that way or remain in the dark-looking tunnel. I looked in the direction the voice was telling me to go. It was to the left. There was a long line of people going into a brightly lit place. I locked eyes with one woman in the line. She looked so sad. I kept telling the gatekeeper that, "I have to go back. I have to go home. My 3 children are waiting for me. Please send me back. Please." The brightly lit place had a lot of voices coming out of there, overlapping. Then the gatekeeper said to me, "The next time you come, no matter how you beg and plead, you will not return." Immediately, I was back in my body. I began ripping out all the IVs in my arm. I was yelling at the doctors that they killed me. Then, I began to tell them what they were saying to each other. They looked startled. I also lost a lot of blood during this procedure and kept slipping in and out of consciousness in the room upstairs. I was so weak, but I left the hospital anyways. I fear seeing the gatekeeper again, especially since he said no matter how I begged and plead next time, I cannot come back again. This story was shared by Cynthia C and happened in 1983.